to Toxic Bliss, Surviving Narcissism, with me, Eamon Reese. In the last episode, I talked about that fateful meeting between myself and Earth Peach. Today we'll explore the next step in our relationship, meeting face to face. Ooh, shivers. Before I start the tale, however, I want to take a minute for a very important disclaimer. I'm not a psychologist, psychiatrist, or mental health professional. If you need help or are in a dangerous situation, please reach out. I urge you to call the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Their advocates are available 24/7 at 1-800-799-SAFE. That's 1-800-799-7233. All calls are free and confidential. You can also reach them online at www.thehotline.org. Multiple daily phone calls, instant messaging sessions, and emails continued unabated for weeks. Things turned very adult-themed, and I'll spare you the gory details of that, but my desire to finally meet him face-to-face was ramping up way faster than my sensibilities could keep up with it. There was an issue that was creeping into our conversations, and I could just tell that it was about to come to a head. As hard as I was trying to avoid it, it was looming on the horizon. I was still spending a lot of time every day in my AOL chat room with my very studious friends. We had begun a translation of a very old Welsh text as a research project, and we were working very diligently as a team. One wouldn't think a public chat room on AOL would be an ideal place for such an endeavor, but anyone that wandered into the room was met with line after line of Welsh text, which honestly just looks like a lot of gibberish without as many vowels. So most people would take a look at the conversation and quickly leave the room without ever typing a word. It worked in our favor. But not good old Earth Peach. He'd sit there from morning till dusk, randomly throwing out dad jokes and other commentary that had nothing at all to do with whatever we were discussing at the time. Several members of our group took great umbrage with this and voiced their concerns to me privately. They were extremely patient and understanding, because they knew how I was feeling about this character, and they had become good friends to me, but their tolerance for his seemingly disrespectful intrusions was growing pretty thin. I had to talk to him about it, and I knew in my guts that this was not going to end well. I decided that talking about this in text, as opposed to the phone, would work in my favor. Sometimes it's just easier when you remove the emotional component of someone else's voice when you're trying to deliver news that you know is not going to be well received. The fact that I had to make such an effort to lessen the impact of a simple request should have been red flag number 3, or is it 4 now? I'm already losing count. But alas, I didn't know the warning signs back then. I had been working on a script in my head for several days. What was the best way to relay the message to him without causing an immediate and hostile disagreement? I didn't want to fight with him. I hated upsetting him, but this really had to be dealt with somehow. As it turned out, all the hours that I had spent carefully crafting my statement were for naught. During the middle of my presentation on the chapter that I had translated, and while I was taking copious notes on the errors, he inserted one of his favorite jokes into the chat. The joke was, and yes, I still remember it to this day, "Why are they called apartments when they're so close together?" Ba-dum-bum. No one replied to him. The chat carried on as if he wasn't even there. I was secretly thankful that they had held their tongues, as I knew full well what they wanted to say to him. But of course, that wasn't good enough for him. Have you ever heard the sound of the ground cracking and splitting beneath your feet? Well, I heard it right then, in that moment, and I braced myself for the lava fountain that was about to unleash itself upon me. Bling, 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 bling. The sound of rapid-fire IMs popping up on my screen gave me an instant headache and a minor panic attack. I held my head in my hands a moment, preparing for battle, took a very deep breath, and clicked to open the message. This was the worst, profanity-laden rant I had seen from him thus far. To think it was all because no one laughed at his stupid joke? Your friends in the chat room are stuck-up bleep-bleeps. Those bleepers can go bleep themselves. I am sick of being treated like a nobody because I don't speak some stupid bleeping language that nobody cares about. It's them or me. You can't have it both ways. You're supposed to be with me now. You need to focus on that and give up this bleeping chat room or I'm gone. Now, at this point, Tears were already streaming down my face before I'd even finished reading his words. And why? Well, a few reasons, really. First was that I was having a very hard time dealing with that kind of hostility. I really hate being yelled at, and I'll generally respond with silence as I try to escape from the rage and think everything through quietly before coming back with a carefully considered response. Second was that I knew this was coming, and I did not want to give up my chat room. I loved it. I loved what I was learning and how far we'd come in such a short time. The thought of giving all that up was really heartbreaking. But so was the thought of losing Mike. Yes, it's now time to move on from his screen name to a more appropriate moniker. The third reason for the tears was that I was so angered that he was making me choose between two very important things in my life. I felt that was monumentally unfair, but I lacked the courage to tell him so. Another I am popped up on the screen. Well, answer me, or are you ignoring me now too, huh? I'm here. I'm thinking. Give me a second, I typed quickly. What is there to think about? He yelled back in reply. Now, typing in all caps has always been considered yelling, and I felt his words as I read the bold-faced type font screaming at me in huge letters. So I tried to be reasonable. Let's compromise, I suggested. I'll only go in the chat room in the mornings while you're at work, and as soon as you come home, I'll leave, no matter what we're doing. Is that okay? And silence. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 10 minutes pass, not a word in reply, though I could see he was still online. This is bad, I thought. Very bad. Bling! Finally an answer came. Nope, I'm gone. If you can't give up a stupid chat room for me, then you're not what I'm looking for. Nice knowing you. Bye. And with that, he logged off. I sat still for a moment, thinking about what just happened and wondering if he really meant that or if he was just mad and he'd come back and make it all better tomorrow. After sitting there for a period of time, I don't even know how long it was, I decided to call him. Now, usually he was the one that called me when we talked, but this seemed really important, and it seemed important enough for me to break that unwritten rule. But my hands were shaking as I dialed his number. I panicked and hung up before entering the last digit multiple times, but I finally managed to make that call. No answer. I even let it ring 6 times, and I was raised to believe that 4 rings was the max. Anything more than that was simply rude. Well, all right, maybe he's taking a shower, or maybe he went out for a walk. Yeah, that's it. He'll call back, of course. Of course he'll call me back, right? Right? I sat at my desk, swiveling side to side in my chair until about 2 a.m. I was just waiting for him to log in, waiting for him to call, waiting for anything. Surely he wasn't going to throw all of this away over a silly chat room. Of course not. We had plans. We were going to meet soon. This has to just blow over. Everything is going to be fine. And I kept telling myself this as if it were some magical life-saving mantra. Eventually, I fell asleep at my desk, sitting in my swivelly chair. My daughter woke me up the next morning by tugging on my arm and asking me why I was sleeping at my desk. I looked at the clock and realized that we had missed the school bus, and she hadn't even had breakfast or anything yet. So, add a healthy dose of bad mother guilt on top of everything else I was feeling, and I just knew this was going to be a rough day. I got her cleaned up and fed, and entranced in the morning PBS cartoons, while I returned to my desk to resume my vigil. I went into my chat room to talk with friends because I had nothing else to do while I waited, but I hesitated before I clicked that join room button. I really thought that if he saw me in there, he'd be sorely angry all over again, and I wasn't sure I should risk that. I mean, what if he came online to apologize? But I was really bored, so in I went. My dear friends tried their best to cheer me up. Jokes delivered in poor grammar of a foreign language are really funny, and I admit I laughed quite a bit, and my mood did lighten. I filled most of my day playing with my daughter. This did wonders for my outlook on life. I painted her nails, we did lots of girly things, we watched Sesame Street together, and we went for a short walk up the road to where her father worked to meet him as his shift ended. I did feel guilty about leaving the house, because what if he called or looked for me online and I wasn't there? But the weather was just too beautiful, and it was nice to have my daughter home for the day, so I embraced that. When we returned home, there were no missed calls, no messages, no emails. I hadn't missed anything. I was both glad of that, but also disappointed that he hadn't tried to get in touch with me. As with everything concerning Mike, there was a good side and a bad side. I made it through the evening by watching some old dumb movies, making dinner, cleaning up, and soaking in a hot bubble bath. I finally caved and went to bed about midnight, not wishing to spend another nearly sleepless night at my desk. I did have a sleepless night, though, but at least I was comfortable. The next morning, tired, sad, with ugly bags under my eyes, I dressed my daughter and got her off on the bus. I needed to talk to Mike today. I needed to know if this was a passing tantrum or if we were really done. I had pinned a lot of hopes on him already, and the thought of having to give them all up was just really too terrible to think about. I would fight for him. I'll fight for us. So I turned on my computer, prepared to write a long, emotional email to him, apologizing and promising to give up the chat room. Whatever he needed me to do, I would do it. But before I got the chance to tell him this, though, I found an email in my inbox from him, and it read, "I saw you in the chat room yesterday. Gee, you were really upset about us, huh? So upset that you spent the day doing the only thing I've ever asked you not to do. Guess I got my answer. Bye." Wait, what? What on earth? He didn't log on once while I was in the chat room. How did he know? It was then that it occurred to me that he probably just had another screen name that he had been on and checked to see if I was in there. The deviousness of that was beyond my ken at the time, and it infuriated me. What tempered my anger were the words in his email. To me it sounded so final, so complete, and there was quite possibly no way that I could save this now, and that was crushing. I didn't hear from him the rest of that day, or the next, or the one following that, and I had emailed him constantly, at least every hour on the hour. "Please talk to me. I miss you. We need to fix this. Let me apologize." I had spent almost an entire week mourning the loss of this relationship. I couldn't understand why it hurt so bad. After all, I'd only known him for maybe 2 months at the most, never even laid eyes on him. How can it hurt so damn much? By the 6th or 7th day, I'd at least stopped crying. I would survive, and gosh darn it, I'd be fluent in Welsh too, so there, take that. A bit of my fire had returned, and it felt like the blessed warmth of the sun after the monsoon season had ended. But don't you know, as soon as I took the first baby step back toward normality, he showed up again, because of course he did. I hadn't turned on my computer until late in the afternoon. Assuming that Mike was gone for good this time, I wasn't in any great rush to be online. I had run some errands and restocked the pantry and did a few things around the house, like normal people do. Much to my surprise, the moment I logged on, a message popped up from Mike. "Hi," he said. "I've been waiting for you all day." I remember sitting there for a moment, unsure if he was using an accusatory tone, as if I should have been on first thing this morning and I was bad for making him wait all day, or if he was using a more excited tone. Perhaps he was happy to see me? Confusion was becoming a normal and perpetual state of mind. "Hi," was all I could manage to say, until I had a better understanding of his mindset. "I've missed you. I'm sorry. I couldn't call you all week. There was a hurricane coming in, and the Navy sent all the ships out to sea, and I had to drive to Chicago to pick up some stuff. Did you miss me?" Side note, if you're listening to this and thinking you must have missed something and you're tempted to rewind a bit to figure out what's going on, don't bother. You didn't miss anything. Crazy making is just another phase of these relationships. I wasn't sure what to say, so I decided to be honest, usually the best course of action. Usually. But we can't forget that nothing about the situation is usual. So I said, "I missed you very much. I spent the whole week thinking we were done and crying over it. And now you're back like nothing's happened? I don't get it." He replied very quickly, "What? Oh, honey, oh, you poor thing. I'm sorry. It was just a little fight. Of course we're not done. I love you so much, and I missed you more than words can say. Want me to call you, sweetheart? Give me a minute. It's noisy here, I said, even though that was a lie of sorts. It wasn't noisy, but I had burst into tears all over again and could not even remotely identify what I was feeling. I was, of course, thrilled to hear from him and over the moon that we weren't done. It was, after all, what I'd been wishing for all week, but I was furious with him for acting like nothing had happened. I was confused, thinking maybe I had imagined it and had just overreacted. What was going on? What is happening? My brain could not cope with this. Call you in 5 minutes, he messaged. Oh, I went to the bathroom and I splashed some water on my face, got a Diet Coke from the fridge and grabbed the phone. I spent a few minutes calming myself, stopping the tears, and gearing up for what was sure to be a very perplexing conversation. The phone rang, and I answered it quickly. Hello? I said, as if I didn't know who it was. Hi, baby. Oh, it's so good to hear your voice again. How are you, honey? And just hearing his voice washed away all the calm I had mustered, and I started crying again. Only this time, I couldn't hide it from him. Oh, sweetheart, don't cry. I'm here. Aw, my poor baby. Must have been a long week for you, but I'm here now. Everything's okay. Do you still love me? I nodded because I couldn't really speak, and it took a moment for me to realize that he couldn't see that, so I squeaked out a yes, and that would have to do for now. Well, I have some good news for you. Are you ready? I didn't even answer before he continued. I can come see you next weekend. I'm going to drive up from Florida and spend a week or two with you. How does that sound? What? My brain was literally overloaded at this point. 15 minutes ago, I was starting to feel strong and normal and ready to start putting Mike behind me. And now he's coming to spend a week with me? I felt dizzy and stunned and like I just needed the world to stop spinning for 1 minute so I could get my bearings. Well, you want me to come see you, don't you, baby? He asked with a tone that said he was completely sure of the answer. Yeah, of course, I stammered. And he said, Aw, is it too soon? Are you scared? We can wait if you need to, but I really want to come see you. No, it's okay. Yeah, I can't wait. I heard words coming out of my face, but I wasn't sure whose they were or where they were coming from. And he continued, Good. I need to run for a bit. Gotta pick up the kiddo from school. I'll talk to you later tonight. Love you. Love you. He hung up before I'd even finished talking. I sat there with the phone in my hand for an exorbitant amount of time, trying to process the last 20 minutes of my life. I was wrestling between two polar opposite realities, and I had to pick which one I wanted to go with. I realized in this moment that I could actually decide which version would be real and which would fade into nothingness. Did I go with timeline A, wherein we had had a big fight and he disappeared for a week, and I got over him and moved on with my life? Or I could pick timeline B, wherein the fight was all in my imagination and we were going to be blissfully happy. Well, the choice was clear, wasn't it? Mike and I were not done. He still loved me. It was just a little fight. I overreacted. I misread things. Everything was fine. He sounded so happy and upbeat on the phone, and he was coming to see me next weekend. Oh my God, next weekend! I had to get my hair done, and how much weight can you lose in a week? And I need to, wait, where's he going to stay? I have to find him a hotel. What am I going to wear? Oh, good grief, I had a lot to do, and 1 week to do it in. The anticipation of our meeting overshadowed the doubt and confusion of the last week. I made a conscious decision to just forget all of that yucky stuff and dive into the excitement of his upcoming visit. I made list after list of things to do. I tore everything out of my closet and tried on outfit after outfit. I had made an appointment to get my hair done, called around for hotel rates. Oh, what did he like to eat? I was going to have to feed him. I knew he drank Pepsi all the time, so I could stock up on that and plan a menu for the week. Oh, I wanted to make him all of my favorites to show off my womanly housewifey skills. I also had to go shopping for some new fancy undergarments. Ooh. The week flew by at record speed. We spent every possible moment on the phone together, and when we weren't talking, I was busy preparing, cleaning the house so it would be perfect, doing my nails, shopping, you name it. This was one of the truly blissful moments of our relationship, and there were many of these. There wasn't a single argument or even a vague disagreement all week long. It was just pure excitement and joy on both sides. I had planned a lot of fun things for us to do while he was here, and even arranged a sitter so I could spend some time alone with him at his hotel. It was going to be the best week of my life. Of this, I had no doubt. But, like I've said before, I was an idiot back then, and I could not have been more wrong. But we'll talk about that in the next episode. For now, thank you for listening, and take care.